your well permits yet, and you don't have a transport permit yet. And I just want to assure you that we will contest every single well permit, and we will contest the right of you to export water outside of San Patricio County.
That splash you just heard wasn't water. It was a fight breaking out over who gets to dip their bucket into the Evangeline aquifer. Sinton City Manager John Hobson fired a warning shot at Corpus Christi's plan to siphon off some 24
your well permits yet, and you don't have a transport permit yet. And I just want to assure you that we will contest every single well permit, and we will contest the right of you to export water outside of San Patricio County. That splash you just heard wasn't water. It was a fight breaking out over who gets to dip their bucket into the Evangeline aquifer. Sinton City Manager John Hobson fired a warning shot at Corpus Christi's plan to siphon off some $24 million. February 3rd, 2026. Breaking news out of Sinton, Texas. The city just filed formal protests blocking Corpus Christi's emergency water permits. 23 wells, 24 million gallons per day. The entire Evangeline Aquifer project dead in the water. Corpus Christi City Manager Peter Zanoni stood in front of the San Patricio County Groundwater Conservation District Board, his voice tight. We made it clear that we needed the permits approved today to meet the production schedule. Any week or any month's delay now most certainly excludes us from bringing water on from this project in November. The board voted anyway, sent the permits to preliminary standing hearings. The delay could last months. And Corpus Christi's reservoirs are at 9.6% capacity, the lowest in recorded history. Officials estimate the city hits emergency status by November 2026. Without Evangeline water, Corpus Christi doesn't survive. Sinton City Manager John Hobson didn't flinch. You're doing what's right for y'all. We're going to do what's right for us. This wasn't just a permitting dispute. This was war. 4 months earlier, Daniel Brohag, a retired machinist in rural Nueces County, turned on his kitchen faucet and tasted salt. His well water, clean for decades, had turned brackish overnight. Tests showed 3,412 parts per million dissolved solids, triple the safe drinking standard. The reason? Corpus Christi started drilling 8 massive wells less than a mile from his property, pumping 11 million gallons per day from the Evangeline aquifer, dumping it straight into the Nueces River. Within weeks, his neighbors reported the same thing. Wells going salty, water pressure dropping, crops dying. Kelly Harland, whose family has farmed the area for generations, was furious. Poor planning on the city's part does not constitute an emergency on us. But Corpus Christi didn't stop. They couldn't. The city's reservoirs were nearly empty, and when the neighboring city of Sinton tried to block the drilling, Governor Greg Abbott's office made a call. His chief of staff, Robert Black, personally contacted Corpus Christi council members. The message was clear: keep the water projects moving or lose state funding. This is the story of how Corpus Christi's water crisis turned into a war, how Abbott threatened cities and destroyed rural wells, and why thousands of Texans are watching their water disappear while the governor picks winners and losers when the desal plant died. September 1st, 2025. Corpus Christi City Council chambers. After 13 hours and 100 speakers, the council voted down a $1.2 billion Inner Harbor desalination plant at 1 a.m. The project would have turned seawater into 30 million gallons of fresh drinking water daily, enough to secure the city's supply for decades. But the price tag kept climbing. Environmental groups opposed it, and council members didn't want to burden residents with higher water rates while pro-chemical plants benefited most. The vote killed years of planning, and it enraged Governor Abbott. Within days, his office issued a statement. Andrew Harris, Abbott's spokesperson, didn't hold back. Governor Abbott is extremely disappointed in the city's short-sighted decision to cancel the desalination project after the state committed tremendous resources and investment to see it through. The state had invested $235 million in direct funding, offered a $757 million below-market rate loan, spent countless hours on permitting and environmental reviews, and Corpus Christi walked away. Abbott's office went further. Sources told local news that the governor's chief of staff, Robert Black, called council members directly. City Councilwoman Carolyn Vaughn confirmed it publicly. Black urged her to be a leader and back the desal plant. When she voted no anyway,
Abbott's team delivered a warning. Corpus Christi had proven itself an untrustworthy partner. Future state funding for water projects could be withheld. The governor has long prioritized water development projects, the spokesman said, and wants to ensure the Corpus Christi area has the water resources it needs to maintain its strong economic footprint. Translation: fix your water problem our way or we'll cut you off. The drill to survive strategy. With the desal plant dead, Corpus Christi scrambled. City manager Peter Zanoni told reporters the unfortunate truth. We're in this position today because of decades of neglect and bad decisions. The city needed 60 million gallons of new water per day before November 2026 to avoid a level 1 water emergency. That's when the system hits 180 days from the point where supply no longer meets demand, and the margin for error was, in Zanoni's words, razor thin. So the city turned to groundwater fast. 8 wells in rural Nueces County started operating in October 2025. Located along County Road 73 in the eastern well field, pulling 8 to 11 million gallons per day from the Evangeline aquifer, dumping it straight into the Nueces River, which flows to the city's treatment plant. Another 12 wells were under construction or being tested. A third well field was planned. The city was negotiating to pay $28 million for groundwater rights on a 2,400-acre property owned by the Ed Rachel Foundation. That expansion could produce another 10 to 20 million gallons daily. City officials called it a drought-resistant water source. Ashley Marion, a city spokesperson, described it as part of a diversified water strategy. But for rural Nueces County residents living near the wells, it felt like theft. The rural neighbors who lost everything. Daniel Brohag wasn't the only one affected. Kelly Harlan's family farm sits near the city's well fields. Her property has water rights, but Texas operates under the rule of capture, a doctrine from the early 1900s that says groundwater belongs to whoever owns the land above it, and they can pump as much as they want, regardless of impacts to neighbors.
When a big user, like a city, comes in and starts pulling millions of gallons daily, nearby wells suffer. Pressure drops, water levels fall, and in coastal areas like Nueces County, saltwater intrusion occurs. As fresh water gets pumped out, saltier, brackish water seeps in from below. Tests on one city well near the eastern well field showed dissolved solids at 3,412 parts per million. That's triple the safe drinking standard. When that salty groundwater gets discharged into the Nueces River, it raises salinity levels downstream. Rural residents who rely on river water for irrigation reported crops dying, livestock refusing to drink, and household plumbing corroding from the salt. Kelly Harland and another resident identified as Cranford raised the issue publicly at a Corpus Christi City Council meeting. Councilman Gil Hernandez questioned whether the city was complying with state water standards. So according to the Bed and Banks permit, you have to monitor the river and keep it below 1,000 TDS, Hernandez asked. Nick Weichelman, interim chief operating officer for Corpus Christi Water, deflected. It's based on the percentages of the baseline for the river. We've seen TDS ranges from 800 to 1,200 naturally, but residents didn't buy it. They know the difference between naturally occurring salinity and contamination from heavy pumping, and they want it stopped. We want them to stop taking the water from the little guy, Harlan said, and there needs to be some protection of the aquifer. Sinton fights back. 60 miles north of Corpus Christi sits the city of Sinton, population 5,500. The Evangeline aquifer is their sole source of municipal water, and Corpus Christi's plan to drill into that same aquifer terrified them. The Evangeline project would pump up to 24 million gallons per day from 23,000 acres of land near Sinton. Corpus Christi approved a $169 million purchase agreement for groundwater rights alone. Total project cost, including pipelines and infrastructure, was estimated at $840 million. City manager Peter Zanoni pitched it as essential. If everything comes online as we are anticipating, there is no curtailment. Supply will always be enough for demand. But Sinton city manager John Hobson wasn't convinced. At a Corpus Christi City Council meeting in August, he delivered a warning. You're doing what's right for y'all. We're going to do what's right for us. On February 3, 2026, Sinton made good on that threat.
The city filed formal protests against Evangeline, drilling and transport permits with the San Patricio County Groundwater Conservation District. St. Paul Water Supply Corporation joined them. So did a Sinton farmer and a Corpus Christi resident. The protests triggered a legal process. Permits that were supposed to be approved on February 6th got delayed. The Groundwater Conservation District Board voted to send the disputed permits to preliminary standing hearings. Zanoni was furious. "We made it clear that we needed the permits approved today to meet the production schedule. Any week or any month's delay now most certainly excludes us from bringing water on from this project in November." Without Evangeline, Corpus Christi's timeline collapses. The city needed those permits by early February to start construction and have water flowing by November 2026. Now that's in doubt. Hobson defended the protests. "We're not protesting to deny access to water to the region. We're trying to balance out the extraction of groundwater in our area, which right now is tilted toward heavy extraction." He added, "This is an issue that has been going on for years. Our focus is the unregulated extraction of groundwater, not Corpus Christi's curtailment." Translation: Sinton refuses to sacrifice its water supply to save Corpus Christi from a crisis the city created. Abbott's pressure and the razor-thin margin. As protests delayed the Evangeline project, Corpus Christi faced a brutal reality. The city needs 60 million gallons of new water by November 2026. Right now, they're getting 11 million from the Nueces County emergency wells. Another 17 million is expected by next year. Evangeline was supposed to deliver 12 million initially, with the potential to double that, but the February 6th permitting delay threw everything off. And a recent city memo revealed the Evangeline project would actually deliver only 4 million gallons per day in the near term, far below the 12 million previously discussed. Zanone admitted the risk. "We don't want to brush it off that this increases the risk of getting past November. That's without any doubt." Councilman Eric Cantu warned the margin for error is razor thin. He blamed previous leaders for stalling other water options while focusing solely on the desal plant. And Abbott's office is watching. After threatening to cut funding when the desal plant died, the governor made it clear Corpus Christi is on its own if the city can't secure water. But here's the problem. Corpus Christi can't fix this alone. Every solution requires taking water from someone else. Rural Nueces County residents, Sinton, neighboring cities, and water supply corporations, and all of them are fighting back. What happens when the wells run dry? As of February 9, 2026, the water war is escalating. Daniel Brodhog's well water is still too salty to drink. Kelly Harlan's family farm is still losing pressure. Sinton's protests are still blocking Evangeline permits. And Corpus Christi's reservoirs are still at 9.6% capacity. Abbott threatened funding cuts, but he can't force Sinton to approve permits. He can't make the Evangeline aquifer recharge faster. And he